I lost a lot of blood, so I don't remember much. I do remember throwing such a good punch that I broke these 3 knuckles. And I remember he fell backwards, and I was just like, okay. And he bounced back, like from the ground, like he hit a trampoline. Next thought I do have is like, you gotta be kidding me, this is a zombie.
I'm Josiah.
And I'm Adam.
We are Salida Gun Shop. Today we've got Justin Critelli. You are running for mayor. You are currently serving on City Council on Ward 2, which makes me wonder, since our last interview, we found out that a lot of the limitations of the mayor, you have potentially more power as a city council than a mayor. Why would you want to move into a mayoral candidacy?
Well, sometimes mayor gets to be a tiebreaker.
Okay.
Like, so our current mayor's got to do that once. And, you know, I really ultimately I wanted to run just to see if the direction we're going in as a city is the right one. It really is a good poll to see if my opponents win, then that's good to know.
My goal from like this interview is really kind of get kind of your take on your accomplishments and where you can take those accomplishments as a city council member and utilize the connections, the communication that you've built over the last 8 years with the people that you've hired and had to work with, and the different things that you mentioned earlier. What would you say coming away from 8 years on the council that like are big wins for the city of Salida, let alone just for like your term or your terms at this point?
One of the bigger wins was when I first got in, South Arc, or well, Vanderveer as we know it, was kind of being chopped up and kind of fire sold by the previous administration. I think it's a huge asset because I think people forget that we live in a really narrow valley corridor. So we're surrounded by BLM. There's no expansion for our community into those regions. What we have is pretty much all we're going to have, and that includes, you know, UP, like Union Pacific on the other side of the river. I mean, we are pretty much just funneled into a couple of other spaces that we can put a couple of units here and there, but I think the retention of southern Vanderveer, now that we're calling it South Arc neighborhood, is huge. We could and now we've just passed phase 1 or initiated that to get infrastructure out there, and really, I mean, that could be 400 units, 200 of which would be deed restricted, affordable for workforce, which means you work in the county, you get first ups on that.
That's awesome.
And then 50 of those being rentals, which at least, which is so hard. It's so hard to do. Another big success we had was just inclusionary housing, getting that as an ordinance. So any new builds, 1 in every 8 houses gets deed restricted, so you can't just buy it and flip it at like a certain AMI, area median income.
Okay.
And prioritized, if you work in the county, you get first ups for those units. It's really hard to do that for rentals because it makes sense. I mean, if you're a developer, you're going to just upsell your other units to offset the loss essentially that you would take on that inclusionary house. So for sale just makes the most sense.
Right.
It was also the issue with rentals. You have to have some sort of entity govern that. You have to have to manage it to make sure it stays affordable and doesn't, again, get flipped, so to speak.
Are majority of those single family dwellings, or is it?
Yeah. And it's harder to do it with like townhomes. So you'll see a lot more in that of like duplex, especially with the new land use code we just passed, making it a little easier for duplex, triplex, apartments. We don't have many of those, but But yeah, mostly single family
Okay.
dwelling. It's really just trying to the enforcement aspect, like making sure that those units don't stay what they are, what the original promise for those are, is huge. And we've had some issues with our housing authority with just management. We've had a couple of directors. We've gone through 3 at this point. So it's really finding some stability there, because it takes a lot of organizational awareness to just keep those things happening. And I think the other big one is making it a little easier for people to make accessory dwelling units.
Gotcha.
So individuals can get involved. I mean, we have great alleys. We have actual infrastructure to get to those, and that's just, I think, a really good infill that can actually help individuals that get involved in the housing issue too.
So is this this kind of rollout? Is this a multi-year? Are we looking at 5+ years, 10+ years for this whole thing to kind of roll out with the 500 units, or?
Yeah. With the 400, we're looking, probably 7 years.
Okay.
Phase 1 can happen quickly. It's the other issue is just making sure our grant money is in the right spot.
Okay. And where does the grant money come from?
Well, it can come from a lot of different entities, and especially a lot of that is public-private partnerships. So
Gotcha.
A lot of that is like if we partner with CMC and their ability to get grants, it would either come federal or state,
okay.
or the housing trusts, which gets a lot of their funding from the state level or Department of Local Affairs. Mm-hmm. So it's about kind of like the partnerships, and there are organizations that are popping up that there's a lot of potential. I don't know if you guys have heard of VeriTouch, but the 3D printed housing, they're actually presenting some of their units on Cleora. I want to say it's this Friday.
Okay.
From 3 to 5. There's a lot of potential there too. Or Fading West, the prefab home builder. As these organizations come in, seeing if we can partner up and go, hey, if we essentially donate the land, which at that point it's like Prop 123, you get land swap money there. See what can happen. What it could look like to get those units out there. So that could change the time frame. Mm-hmm. I think pretty conservatively we're hoping for about 7 years. I think it made it a lot easier that it showed that we could only really build on a relatively small corner of the property, because about 62 acres of that is wetland,
okay.
Cannot build, should not build. So we'll put a couple of fields out there, maybe for I know lacrosse has been a budding interest in the community, things like that. But as far as the builds, it's just that tiny corner right off of County Road 107.
Okay.
A lot of potential there. Just that secured workforce housing. I think we're starting to kind of go away from not necessarily calling it affordable housing. It's for the workforce. Yeah. It's for our service industry, and addressing all those folks that otherwise have to travel pretty far to serve our tourists, which is 70% of our city income.
Yeah. So with that being said, you have a 50,000-foot view, and you also have feet on the ground in that's a perspective I didn't believe that a lot of the other candidates would have, and I'm impressed, to say the least, of what you're bringing to the table for this this run. Yeah. Because when the What's Up Salida meetings that we go to, I guess there's another one tomorrow, I think, right? Coffee Talk. Those scenarios, we see a lot of downtown being promoted a little bit more than what's happening on 50 Highway.
Sure.
And having your literally 8 years of working on the ground level towards this. Did you see a difference at that beginning of the 8 years, what was happening downtown versus what is happening downtown now as far as the in and out of different businesses?
Yeah, that's for sure. And I mean, I've seen so many of these shifts. I will say pretty early on in my tenure, there was this push from other council members, the mayor at the time, P.T. Wood, who's now commissioner, and some of staff to have this Highway 50 beautification. There would be this, you still see some of it to this day. I mean, as far as we updated the lighting, we got a couple of those crosswalks you can press the button and get across, bigger sidewalk bump outs. But when it came to this, like having an island, having off-highway parking, like that would kind of, and those sidewalk bump outs that would make the highway a little bit more narrow. Talking about this, it was called like the Future 50.
Yeah.
We had a lot of businesses along Highway 50 be like, do not touch, like we don't want any of these upgrades. This was like in hindsight like a terrible idea, but we had like an artist mock up like what it could look like, and this is like so much more like the bike path, and so you got bikers and you've got a little island with trees and you got signs pointing in like, hey, go here, and you could even have kind of similarly to what Canyon City just did, where you can kind of have a turn off and go. That way, a little confusing for me as a driver. So we had all these mock-ups, and like all the business owners that were implicated in that, like what is it, Mountain Phoenix Roasters, even Ace Hardware were like, we have no plans of having any of these like little pretty shrubs or whatever the heck, I sent the Jug. Or not the Jug, Roxy's was another one that was like, we built our businesses around how it looks right now.
Yeah.
And if you make it more difficult for people to figure out how to turn into our space, then they're just not, or they'll get frustrated and keep going. And so we really had to put our foot in our mouth on that one, because at first I'm like, wow, this looks objectively cool, and it was that response to those plans that I realized, like, okay, like Highway 50 is different. Like they really, I mean, if we're gonna do any change at all, it would have to like come from the business owner specifically, being like, hey, it would be nice if we had this, that, or the other thing. But when it comes to downtown, the historic district and the creative district are those two things I see have, you get a lot of input representing both. We have the Historic Preservation Commission. We also have Arts and Culture Department, and they both feel very strongly about the way things should go and look, and certain things about beautification. And it is a completely different kind of beast to govern.
Yeah.
Especially like during COVID. I was running a communal lodging business, a Simple Lodge, and I'm a massage therapist, so I was like already personally concerned about God, like they're telling me I got to be 6 feet apart from everybody, and there was like this complete, kind of, all right, there's a lot of confusion, but those downtown business owners were like all hands on deck. It was like, all right, let's like close F Street, let's get our to-go margaritas, we'll get sippy cups.
Right.
We'll promote. We'll have events still. Life didn't really change all that much for Salida during COVID, and I another thing that my experience offers me is that I go to municipal league conferences and I go to Association of Ski Towns for Colorado.
Yeah.
just to see how other communities are doing. Things that are hurting them, things that they wish they would have done better, things that they are doing that's working. And Salida, like we did among the best as far as sales tax revenue, as far as just not being hit so economically hard as other communities did. And honestly, I think that was just a lot of that coordination with small businesses. Now, I mean, the thing was we were kind of bracing ourselves for this crazy financial impact. And you've got on the government end, you've got the Rescue Act or like those relief funds. They're even throwing. That was probably the first time in our lives we'll ever see like the government give us money. Like I got $6,000. I got a new bed with that money from the guy. I was like, wow. I got my tax dollars back. That was like, it was a special moment while I was watching Tiger King in my PJs. But like it was really we were super concerned about all this uncertainty and the goalposts kept changing too as far as what businesses could do and how how big events could we have, and what had happened instead was we had this huge boom. I mean, like we were breaking records. Yeah. And I think it was also because we had really robust internet. Like I was so, at the time, Rusty Granzella was the telecommunications liaison and he was running for commissioner and won and wanted me to hop on and got me up to speed on what he was doing because at the time, Colorado Central Telecom was putting down fiber, like laying fiber. And no, not a lot of other communities, especially out in the mountains, were doing that. And I think that infrastructure built in for telecommunications led to this huge boom in essentially people coming from the Front Range, from big cities. We had people from as far as New York, Philadelphia that were telecommuters, and were able to do work without shutting our internet down. So you had this huge influx of people coming in that were just working remotely. Yeah, and I think now we're starting to experience that wave was going to hit. I think one way or another. This. During COVID, people weren't like going on their European vacations or traveling abroad. They were staying. So now that those gates are open again, we are experiencing a plateau. But we are also experiencing what happens with small businesses. I know like Ferraro's, like Fat Teas, where they're just kind of done. Like they did the thing. Nobody wants to do it for them, and they kind of run their course, and they're just kind of spent and are ready to retire. And so that is the hard part about the ebb and flows of small businesses. But I've traveled all over this country, and I've never seen a community that has retained so many small businesses while also having a Walmart. Usually in my experience, Walmart kind of becomes the place where kills the mom and pop. So I think we're still doing pretty good. And I heard the Office bar is coming back, so that's good.
All right. Yeah. Going back to like the Highway 50 thing, we were very, very against all of that too, to be completely transparent, because of what it would imply for the guys that are driving through with cattle trailers that wouldn't be able to turn into our lot. Again, like just like they're saying, like we built our business around the traffic that we get on Highway 50, the exposure that we get. Sure. So in the meetings that I was able to attend, it just kept getting deeper and deeper. Like these concepts don't reflect the 75+% of tax revenue that the Highway 50 is putting into it for us to benefit from this. We would suffer. Right. And I think that being able to take a step back and like, okay, what you said was you got to have stakeholders in something like this. And we're seeing it on a state level too, not just a city level. Like you have to have the right stakeholders involved before you really take that giant leap forward with throwing something at the wall to see if it sticks. Unless there are people that have an ulterior motive. So whether their pockets are getting filled or not. So I like that idea of you coming full circle and coming out of that and realizing we didn't listen to the people that are going to be affected. So with that being said, us being a business on Highway 50, talking with Anderson, Ace Hardware, all the bigger businesses that do, year-round revenue, tax revenue. Is there anything that the city could have in plan or put on the table to help benefit our businesses to grow, to invite more? Like, I know we should have a sidewalk outside of our business, but I know it's a state highway. 2023, I think I got a notification that
it's on the plan.
It's on the plan. And I know Poncha Springs has got money allocated for their Highway 50 stuff. It's just a matter of like getting things in line and having it done by the people that are scheduled for it.
Right. And that's something that was like the reason why we devolved our partnership, if you call it, with CDOT when it came to like that portion of 291 from 50 to the hospital, was because at the end of the day, I mean, we had our public works director being like, we're ready to go. Like, our roads, curb, gutter, sidewalks, like we get 35% of our budget is allotted to that alone.
Right.
Like, that's out of our hands. That's just due to ordinance from way back. So we have our public works director being like, I'm ready to go, and I'm just waiting on CDOT to like return my calls.
And that's David Lady, right?
Yeah. So it's David Lady, and he's just kind of like, when you have this bigger organization that's or department that we're waiting on their timeline, like they're not thinking in terms of how we are locally of like, hey, we need this like sidewalk in yesterday.
Is it representation on a state level that would help with that, you think? Or
I think it's just more bureaucratic red tape. Slows everything down. I mean, it would be nice if you had somebody in those departments that lived locally. So I know like how that felt when we had DOLA. So our current city administrator is Christy Doon. She was also our DOLA representative for 6 years that I knew her, even longer than that. And we kept on, really being on the ground floor of all these grants and money coming through because she lived locally. So it's like, if you have that local...
Would you mind describing DOLA too?
Oh yeah, yes. So Department of Local Affairs is just an organization that channels money, grants from the state level, and kind of it could go towards parks, it can go towards any number of things, a splash pad outside of the aquatic center, the skate park. We all got DOLA grants for that. It could even go towards a project like South Arc when it comes to certain elements that they deem is a need for our region.
Nice.
And our regional representative just so happened to live locally, so it's like, unless you have that with the Department of Transportation, they've got their minds on a million other things. It's kind of like the UP, they're not thinking about, or the Union Pacific, they're not really necessarily thinking about how their actions affect us because they don't really think about us.
Right.
But I think that's mostly just red tape and being like, okay, we had to push it back because another priority presented itself. So it's really hard to get that timeline. But it is our plan. We have the money allotted. I think it's also what I learned with the Future 50 stuff was, nothing gets that engagement more than when you have that picture of the drawing of the idea of the plan. Then people really, really show up. I mean,
because that was down at the steam plant extension, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I think it's another one of those things until there's an actual presentation, folks just kind of like, oh, that's a rumor, oh, whatever. It's when you see, like, we just had it recently with Love's truck stop, right? Like, they show up in the flesh. Like, we'd heard about maybe them wanting to do something for a while. Obviously, they tried it in Poncha Springs. We were kind of keeping track of where else they'd try to do it, and it's not real until they actually show up and are like, hey, we're presenting this, and then it's like, that's when people show up and they're all heated, and it's like, all right, just remember, like, we're hearing about this too, like, kind of first things first also. And anybody can present anything, anybody can come up and be like, I want to build a giant statue to my honor, and we have to hear them out at least. But
I think being on city council kind of gives you that you're representing all of those constituents, whether it's in your ward or not. Like, you still you're going to be affected by it, right? Definitely. And so, having the ability to present, having visuals, and having the rumor now come to fruition. What do you see in the future for Salida that is or was rumored that it can be pushed forward at this point?
Yeah, well, I mean, I really do see the future ultimately has a couple things going on for it, and it's really about retention of our locals. So how do you do that for seniors? You get that assisted living project. We just got some Prop 123 money off of Scott Street, off the river. That's going to be a low income housing tax credit, which is more state funds for an assisted living facility that'll be affordable. We also we're doing a lot of partnership stuff with Places to Age, and they're trying to get something going out on off of Airport Road.
How many units between the two? Do you have a rough idea?
Yeah. I mean, what they're presenting for Places to Age, you're looking at, you could have 200 people out there. Okay. Like in all different kinds of phases of that.
Yeah. Yep.
Phases of the super assisted living, and then all the way to just a smaller condo space, because a lot of the retired folks, our seniors, are dealing with houses that are just far too big, and they can't even make it up the second story. So it's, how do we retain that? It's also retaining our youth, and I think that there's a lot of potential with partnering with CMC to get some dorms, get some expand those opportunities for continuing education, secondary school, so that. Because I mean, being a foster parent for the last 8 years, it's tough. It's tough, when your kid graduates and is like, there's nothing really here for town. I have to go somewhere else to really do anything for my future. So having those options, I think we are also saving a big kind of space on Vanderveer for a potential rec center, someday. Right. That'd be the awesome thing. But I think a lot of those things, when it comes to rec, even when it comes to fire protection, we really need a district or some collaboration with Poncha, with our neighbors in Poncha Springs, with what the service area is. Ultimately, we would just need more help with the funding of that. And it's something that I see all the time when it comes to our police, when it comes to our fire, first responders. The service area that they have to address is so much larger than the taxpayers paying into that, us being that in Salida. So I think getting some of that collaboration, whether it's the private-public one or if it's just with other municipalities, that's really how we avoid the dreaded property tax that I certainly don't want to be a part of any organization that's going to be upping property tax. It's already, fees and taxes are already high enough. Right. And I belong to organizations like the Little Sons of Italy, and I have a lot of friends in that would be really hurt.
Yeah, it'd be detrimental for sure.
So coming up with other ways to, to have that build out, to have that kind of you can age in place.
Yeah.
In your community. I think that
would be very useful in talking with like other people, whether they're involved with a hospital, medical, like there's always a need for, sustainability for, especially we're going to add 400 units here, 400 units there as we grow. That also looks at like what the school district's going to need as far as space is required as well. Do you expand all the way into Poncha? Do you put a second school out there for the district, or how does that look when you kind of look at the future of being able to provide school in a great learning environment for the growth that we're going to continue to see?
Oh yeah, and I'm hearing all the time. I mean, Poncha per capita is like the last I checked the third fastest growing community in the state. When I have discussions with anybody on the school board, because we have a partnership with the school resource officer, and that is like kind of our connection there. But when we're talking just about space, right, like this relatively new school is pretty obsolete, size wise. That you have to start having those conversations on like who's going to help us shoulder that burden of growth. State demographer says we're looking at growth at least until kids born in 2007 turn 22. So at least until 2029, then the baby bust happens, according to their presentation. In 2008. So we're looking at some steady, intense growth. And it's how do we manage that? Because I don't think there's any way of really stopping it.
Right.
So,
who's moving here?
Well, I think the big ones since COVID are going to be those telecommuters. Those ones that never did have to go back to the workplace. But I also think that it's a lot of just, at least in Salida, a lot of retirees. I mean, the biggest demographic is over 65, so retired.
We kind of have seen our customer base kind of expand into that a little bit more. Like just retired, moved here, and looking for activities. So our outdoor range getting a lot more use and exposure, and the shooting activities, shooting sports itself, our people are kind of falling back into it as something to do besides, trying to just get out and walk the dog and hike in the area. And being seasonal, can't always ride your bike, can't always get on the snow, can't always get on the river. So shooting you can do kind of all year long. So what do you see as far as the ability to bring businesses in to help continue to support a tax revenue where you have these retirees moving here that are not contributing other than purchasing product, and supporting the businesses that are already here, but having, other businesses start to drive, that tax revenue, or at least sustainability going forward as well.
And I've attended a lot of those meetings with the Economic Development Coalition, and I mean, that's something that where they're doing small business startups, and all this free, advisory. I've had a couple of friends that started their small business with their guidance and help. They also have the Ascent Summit, which is bring other thriving small businesses from around the state in to share what. So it's really that communication and sharing. In so many ways we're on the map. I mean, you see we're top 10 place to visit in travel and leisure. I mean, and at least in the county, we still have pretty huge festivals coming in, 7,000 people to see Pretty Lights over this summer. You've got, Billy Strings, he's way huge now, but it's insane that he came here at all. and it was really like, I mean, we've been on the map, I think, since Mumford and Sons came, and there was 20,000 people telling at least five, each individually telling at least five of their friends. So I think there is, you see these actual manufacturers popping up, like Fading West, like Vero Touch, and I get to meet with the mayors of the other communities, Mayor Libby and Mayor Ben or Skanga, and they'll say they're open to having more of those warehouse manufacturer. That manufacturing end of the equation is the big one. I mean, I know Poncha's always very open to have, because they have just the land for it. Yeah, we're limited. We're in that narrow part of the county where it's pretty tough, and our borders are pretty zigzaggy and between the county and the city, and so I could see it in BV or in Poncha having this, if it's, I don't know what that would. What was I was talking to Mayor Skanga, and he had mentioned he was like trying to get one of the, like, Merrill or something, like, we'll make the Vibram Souls out here,
right?
It's just like, I think it's got to be that openness, but there needs to be enough of that buzz for a community to be on that kind of radar. I mean,
so it's almost a county thing, less a Salida thing, so that you have all three of these, major cities, Poncha, Buena Vista, Salida, kind of working in conjunction to make sure that, like, there is a Vibram, or there is a boat manufacturer, or a bicycle manufacturer.
Right.
Like, it just seems like with the opportunity to live and work in this area, if you had those types of manufacturing jobs here for the county itself, let alone Salida, it would be beneficial entirely for the growth and the visitation, and in the conversations that I've had with the Visitors Bureau, for the county, you see the ups and downs, and you have the it's really low in housing, and we don't have this and we don't have that, and then
housing is a big one. I mean, if you go to those Ascent summits, they'll pretty much tell you. I mean, it's hard for like a big manufacturer, to bring in that business without knowing that there's workforce to draw from. Without that housing there, it's just tough to go out on a limb. I mean, and I see it just at the hospital level. You'll have these doctors coming in and being like, okay, I got the job. It's, where do I live? And when a doctor's saying that, it's like, oh boy, we still have so much more work to do in that end of things. Yeah. You're not wrong there.
Where does the airport fall into all of this, I guess? Like, the BV seems to be focusing a little bit on the airport. Where does the airport of Salida fall into expansion of Salida?
Yeah. And I was on the airport board for a while, another one that I took off of Rusty's Granzel's hands. But I think what really kind of got the expansion of Harriet Alexander Field like on the front of our minds was the Decker fire. It was that's what got us really interested in having an actual robust fire station, and having like a real completed runway out at the airport, because just the conditions that you got. Our first responders, windy, breezy tent out on the fairgrounds, and you've got logistical issues with trying to get the, all the craft that they needed to put, to contain that fire. That really got the gears turning. It was also just we really did put the priority there, because not only did they have like what could be a potentially environmental hazard with their like fuel farm being like over 50 years old, but it was also, I think Zach Papp, the airport manager, really knew how to also pitch it in a way of like a economic vitality thing. Like, hey, you like those overnight Amazon packages? They come to us.
Right.
Hey, Seven Peaks, Dirk Bentley was flying into our airport.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's it was that kind of, he knew how to pitch it as this great economic driver too, and we really bumped up a lot of those things that they needed into our priorities, and we do share that the burden of that with the county. So that is also pretty helpful. But I think it was just we needed the vision out there, and Zach definitely provided that, and then we even got him the help and staff that he needs, and one of those staffers is now one of my opponents, so that's cool. No hard feelings. But no, I think that does play into it. Also, the fact that our airport is east-west facing, whereas BV's is north-south, and that makes a difference for pilots as well.
Yeah.
So, those were big ones for sure. The Decker fire really had us thinking, and all the beetle kill out there. Still, it just anticipating when the next one will be,
right,
and how close it might be.
Nice.
I guess the other thing I think about too is the foreseen growth with Monarch opening up the backside.
Oh yeah.
Does Salida, is the city looking at that as going to be a pretty potential big thing, or?
Yeah, and right now I think it's really poignant that a lot of the campaign season right now, candidates are running on that that build out of that transportation element. If we get this more robust, like regular trips to and from Mountain to our community, it's the anticipation of that. I mean, and Monarch's been anticipating that when they even got the corner store out on the at Monarch Pass for overflow parking. It's gonna be huge. And as a small business owner, when I started in 2015 with the hostel, there was a real shoulder season. It'd be like Labor Day would be done. That was pretty much it until and then we'd get a little bit off of ski season, but it was really like summer was like big. It was like, that was bread and butter, feast or famine. Now I don't really see much of a shoulder season. Maybe it's a cumulative 6 weeks out of the year. A couple weeks in April, May, a couple weeks in November. But it is trying to anticipate and having that collaboration there with Monarch. Maybe not Bob Nichols personally, but somebody who's actually doing stuff at the Mountain. Because it is. I think transportation as the element, though, somehow tying that in, and I think it would be huge too, just to have that. That transportation anyway, not just seasonally, but so that parking as an issue wouldn't be felt as strongly, and it would be a good way to connect the 50 and downtown. I mean,
huge.
I mean, when Gentlemen of the Road came, it was like we got a vision of what it could look like. I mean, they had regular from 50 to downtown and back, regular transportation happening, and it was smooth and organized. And I saw, a lot of people, patronizing businesses on the highway, as because I went Quincy's at the time. There was a line.
Yeah.
And then, and then even down to Moonlight, which, we're selling pizza by the slice until like 2 a.m. So it was like, that's what it could look like.
Yeah.
It can be done.
Yep.
The other piece too to that is like I look at the kids having, a place
Safe.
to go,
Mm-hmm.
ride up to the slopes, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Or at least a consistent travel back and forth.
And a lot of the programs on Friday would allow, that type to happen, as well. So you got the transportation, parents have to work 5 days a week, can't just take off Friday.
That's
gotta
right.
find health care or child care. And
That
now
Friday off is a killer, man.
it is.
What is going on, dude? Like, an extra day for my house to get destroyed? It's awesome. I would have killed, by the way, for a 3-day weekend. Like, as a kid.
Gosh,
I mean, are you kidding?
It's like, and what's the deal with homework, right? Why can't you get it all done at school?
Right? Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, just
Good.
one of those gripes.
Yeah.
But
This has been enlightening to. I didn't realize the depth that you were going to bring to this candidacy. I think that's the biggest takeaway that I'm getting from this is your relationships, your involvement in things on a county level, on even a state level, the different businesses, the summits, all of those types of things that you're bringing to the table. It clearly puts you in a different realm as far as what we've seen for the other candidates. Just because of what the city needs is somebody that has the ability to look at that 50,000-foot view and go, okay, well, this is something that fits in with this. And also, hey, if we get these people involved, this helps here.
Right.
So
it's at least just to be like, so we don't do the same thing we've done already. Where it's just like, hey, we drew up a mock-up for future of Highway 50. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Stop doing that.
Yeah. I think
it's like
growth,
the fear repeating itself.
Just over and over again. Like, well, let's try this. Let's try it with this flare.
Right. Yeah. How about these kinds of trees? It's like, no trees.
Right. Yeah. And downtown, they've got the bollards.
Yeah, right.
Got installed. So that's kind of exciting to see how that program works for downtown's access. Because a lot of our gripe, being on 50 Highway is, you tell customers like, hey, where's a good place to eat? And you're like, okay, do you want to go downtown? Is F Street closed? Is First Street, congested? Is there parking? Yeah. And having the temporary parking, I think, is important. But having a timeline or an option for us to send our customers down there that have driven, anywhere from 2 hours to 4 hours round trip and want to spend more money here, whether they do a Walmart run or, we push them to downtown, to stimulate the economy, or they decide to, grab a hotel room or something.
Right.
The consistency that we can get from downtown, I think, would help with, the economic capability of downtown to be more of a year-round thing instead of a seasonal or a festival or type of thing.
And I mean, you are going to be seeing, though, a lot more of those events happening, a lot more kind of year-round. Especially, we lost that amplified sound ruling at the state level. Shout out to Matt Hobbs.
Yeah,
super popular guy. So it's going to be like, the loophole is if it's like city, not necessarily completely run, but like city supported, using like city facilities. Now you're going to see a lot more of those, what would be like otherwise private industry venture making it on the city level. So you're going to see, like Small Town for the Cause we got, and that's something that's happening in September. Just expanding on those certain events. So at the end of, year round, at the end of the day, I think it's good to have those, that ability for F Street to be, we shut it down a lot for parades, make it just super easy to do. As far as sustained closure, we're taking that to the people to see if they want it, and if they want it, it'll be for the next 3 years.
That's on the ballot. Yep. Okay.
So that you're looking at like a 3-year thing, so like businesses can say, cool, if we're doing this, and I can invest and know that it's going to keep happening. But either way, I think for council, it's just like we can just stop talking about it. I think it'll be really cool to just be not because as strongly, it seemed like for every one person that felt really passionate about the F Street closure, there was another person that was very passionate about parking. So it was just this constantly butting heads. And
what do the businesses say?
Yeah, we were able to have pretty good outreach. And I sat, because that's my ward. I sat in all those meetings where we wanted to have a good mix of the businesses that were, on the closure that were supportive, a couple businesses that were on the closure that weren't, and then businesses that were off the closure that were for and against. And I think we had a really good mix. And then we had, the Americans with Disabilities representation and the veterans representation too, because they wanted to represent that they didn't want to have this weird parade route. They wanted to go up and down F and all that. So it was like how to have the accessibility in place, how to have the parades we need, and then we had businesses that were all the small businesses that we talked to, whether they were for or against, were talking about economically, like their money was up.
Yeah.
So I really like, and some that were like, I haven't seen any changes. There wasn't really like this, like, hey, this is killing my business, and that really would have driven me to, at least for that representation, to be like, oh man, like I remember it was Ray Kitson at the Boathouse was like very adamant against the F Street closure, and I was like, oh my god, like if I knew that this was hurting your business, Ray, I would have never supported it. Like that is not the intention. And he was like, no, my business is doing better than ever. I just hate the whole parking situation and the reroute and all that. And it's like, it's like, I don't know. I mean, again, it sucks. It sucks for me to have to like serve what I feel like is two masters. I have to serve the tourist dollar, like what's going to bring in more tourism dollars. And I'm watching really closely that sales tax number, and if it ever dips, we have to like figure out what the heck is happening. But then also serving the people that vote for me and that are here year round, and not always are there gonna be the same view of like what the tourists like, which is like, well, I could spend so much more time downtown, which means in my head I either spend more money.
Yeah.
Whereas, locals are just like, what the hell, like, parking is a joke. And it's like, yeah, I hear that too.
Yeah.
But it's also, you have that element of locals that in the summer hate going downtown anyway. I mean, so many, the locals that I know that are like, oh, Fib Park's happening, we're out of here.
Yeah.
Like we are leaving.
Rent out the house for the weekend and get out of there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm just kind of like, in order to avoid that property tax discussion, we got to just keep that sales tax up.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, when I do see some businesses going out, and it seems like there's a decent amount on F that are closed up, I'm like, oh gosh, like that does not feel good.
Right. But like you said, they some of them have run their course. Nobody took over for them, so it's just a matter of finding some other business to take that over, to develop and rise to the occasion for the opportunity that could be there too. So
yeah. And as far as 50 goes, with the land use code updates, we do have these like we're calling opportunity zones along Highway 50 to and that is, in that way, I think we kind of underhandedly try to force CDOT's hand if we get that little extra density
Yeah.
and you have actually more people on foot or more traffic. CDOT pays attention to that sort of thing and goes like, oh, now you're a priority. Now you start seeing those sidewalks or just the initial plan actually getting completed.
Yeah.
And it's like our way of just, without having to, send a million emails and complain and then they ignore us. It's like, oh, hey, like, an apartment complex happened off of 50. It'd be really nice to get that sidewalk thing figured out because there's just more people to inform their decisions.
And we see it constantly. We see, bikers and walkers, headed to Walmart or headed, one way or the other, and to have something a little bit safer, more dedicated. I mean, the bike area is only so big, right? And a couple of semis
really
on the
clear.
road. No. and to make it a little bit safer, and I wouldn't say a little bit, it's going to make it way more safer to have that access all the way out there. So
there is a bike path.
Yeah, Monarch Spur.
Yeah.
The Monarch Spur Trail. I think it just makes sense to have that completion at least to Walmart, though. But yeah, I mean, obviously not like what we've also learned is the bowling alley doesn't want any they have the way that people park and utilize their space, and we're not trying to step on their toes either. So we've definitely been working with each individual business owner to be like, hey, like, how do you see this flowing? And if some of them are just very adamant about not changing a dang thing. Which is great. That means that they feel like they're doing as good as they're gonna do.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to mess that up. Trying not to fix what ain't broke, which
True.
seems to be a government tendency that I hate so much. So
We found a solution, just got to find the problem.
yeah, right, exactly. Applying problems to solutions,
You also mentioned in kind of your campaign the youth development. So working with CMC, working with the school district, working a little bit more, the idea of having the ability for, I know CMC kind of has some programs that allow those students to work in industry or get access to, whether it's a nursing program or any type of education program. What do you see as being a driving force for that youth program, the development between the school district, in the entire county, as well as CMC? You mentioned dorms as being something.
Yeah, I think it's also when you have more of that buy-in from an organization like Colorado Mountain College, then the programming starts becoming more robust. Like, boy, if they really have this, they have a further investment with like dorms and that ability to have student body actually stick around, then they're more inclined to fill that.
Right.
And when it's essentially, it's like that manufacturing end thing, if there's housing there, then they're like, okay, we're not like screwed on staff end.
Right.
We can actually put people somewhere. Then I think the ultimate goal is like getting that nursing programming, like having the facility to do that for them. It just makes sense. I mean, we have this regional medical center. It's the one for 100 miles in every direction, and it just seems like if you have all these steps where it's like you've got the dorm and the schooling and the place to at least intern.
Right.
It's then you can actually you have that retention. That was like one of the big things that had me get involved was I was noticing at least at the time I was 27 when I started to run, but I got here when I was 22. And it was just seeing like people in my age bracket just kind of come and go.
Yeah.
And just realizing like, well, I want to stick around, but if nobody else my age is sticking around, there's going to be this huge weird gap
Yeah.
Of like where there's just going to be this wave of it's going to become a ghost town because what happens to service industry and all that. So it's really just, again, that retaining the characters. I always hear like, hey, we don't want to lose our community character. It's something that comes up all the time.
Yeah.
It's community character, and I've pondered on like what that really means. Sometimes you'll hear, it's like the words we use, right? Like sometimes you'll hear like affordable housing, and it's just like, what's affordable? Like that, when somebody looks at a price tag and they go, that's not affordable because it's not affordable to me, it loses its meaning.
Right.
When we're talking workforce housing, and then you go, well, who's staying in that house? Somebody who works here. That's what that is.
That defines
That's
it.
not mine.
Yep.
So it's the same with like character. Sometimes you'll hear somebody go like small town character, and they'll put the small town in there. Like, we got to keep it small. We got to fight growth in order to maintain that character. I don't think that that's possible. And I'm always talking to people we've all decided to live here.
Right.
So like, I'd be disingenuous to try to tell somebody like, no, don't live here. Like, I've done that before in like tongue in cheek. Like, please, like, thank you for visiting and don't move here.
Yeah.
But like, what I kind of stick to is just the word of like, the character is the people. It's the kind of people that are coming in. And, generally speaking, if you do move here, you're my kind of person. You like something about this area, and it's probably has something to do with the outdoors or the fact that we don't live next to a Target. If you really prioritize that, you wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
So like,
not a 15-minute city where you have access to everything.
Right. Yeah, and you probably are not a huge fan of the Front Range because, the smell of Purina dog food factory.
Yeah.
So like, we already have something in common. So it's really like maintaining those characters. It's those people that that make the community.
Yeah.
So
a lot of times I think you can define like a community's character by those people that that live here. Obviously, they enjoy being here, and they're able to work and sustain their life that they came here for.
Right.
So you have those people that are willing to work hard. You have those people that are willing to play hard, and you have those people that will continue to do those things for that community to have that type of a character.
Yeah.
So you have that workforce drive, and if you look at what CMC's capability is, I think I would look at them as like a vocational thing where if you could drive more of a simple program, and I don't mean nursing is simple, but if you had a nursing program that allowed them to come from the medical, if you had a program developed for our community that allowed them to come in, do that program, and leave that program with the knowledge and understanding that they need to serve that community, and mold it into that. So not looking at like, oh, well, you could work on the Front Range, you could work on this. Like, my wife and I moved to Wichita because she wanted to do family practice. Well, Via Christi is a residency that literally focuses on that type of thing. So they put you in a situation that you are working with family practitioners, you are working with other residents that want to drive that. So building a program, I think, starts with being able to understand like what does the community need, and then build that and have CMC work in conjunction with the city, with the county, so that we can drive that. In the automotive industry, you've got you got outdoor industry. I mean, all these things. I talked to Heidi Slaymaker, and she's working with the outdoor industry, like being able to fire the fire camps that we have, all those types of things, bringing stuff that is successful in other small areas, and bringing that knowledge to the programs that we have here to offer amazing things that drive people to want to, like, they offer it here. Holy crap. Otherwise, I got to go to BC, I got to go to Canada, I got to go somewhere else in the middle of nowhere, and I can live in Salida, Colorado, in Chaffee County, and have that same program. That would be huge.
Huge. I mean, and preaching to the choir, I'm a tradesman. I mean, I'm always trying to convince my kids. It's like, just do a trade, man. The house you're in right now was bought by a trade.
Yeah.
But like stuff, I mean, again, that draw, that's another industry thing. That is about getting those jobs and keeping them in our community. And another thing about just our location, I mean, it's actually like, it's when we have that ability to stay in the community, especially out here, it's just less dangerous to commute. I think that's like another aspect that we kind of forget about, is that it's sketchy to drive really far in the winter out here.
Yeah.
And there's been community members that have had to live in the San Luis Valley, and have had car accidents on Poncha Pass and didn't make it. And I've seen that, and it's just like, just another aspect of this housing thing to keep, and that retaining in our community, so that you don't have to, again, like, look at a mountain pass as just a part of your commute, and you're driving like
sucky.
45 minutes. In a blizzard. So
it's open, it's closed, it's dangerous, it's mudslide, rock slide,
and it's really it's the other drivers. You get somebody from Texas, all of a sudden
throw the big T out there,
or wherever they're from.
Yeah,
they definitely don't have winterized tires. So.
They always tell me they drive fast. I always catch them in the left lane in the summertime driving 55, but that's neither here nor there.
But
it's actually really interesting that you kind of touch on that, because if you think about it, like regionally located where we are compared to the hospital systems, a program like that could really expand out to. I mean, you got Del Norte, you got you have Gunnison, you have down Valley or down the canyon, you have Cane City.
Even
Westcliff. Look at South Park. Nothing. Zero. They have nothing.
And they're not going over Hoosier Pass to get into the summit for a medical emergency. Right.
But I mean, like for expansion of medical facilities or medical providers. It's interesting.
Yeah, my wife is the regional women's outreach for like the healthcare grant for getting early testing and all that. And her region includes like Leadville. Westcliff. She's down in Saguache, and then Fairplay. I'm like, that's a huge region. I mean, it's like the size of like Connecticut or something. It's nuts.
A lot of people don't realize that. Like, and you draw more retirees, then you have more jobs, right, for nursing or CNAs or whatever for that type of stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and there's so much potential with places to age too, being this like huge campus in which, the people that work there can live there too. So there'll be like workforce housing built in. I mean, that's what I want to see most of all continue, is that there's so much potential there. Win, lose, or draw, I want to see that momentum keep going in that direction.
So you got to speak positively. So after you win,
we
can drive all of these things towards the finish line, to completion, so that the community continues to grow the way it needs to keep the character, like we discussed, and not be overrun, type thing. So I think it'll be. I think it's a lot of potential in your candidacy for people to see like the opportunity that Salida has. And just hopefully that people vote, like get out, understand who the candidates are, what they're for, what they bring to the table, and I think you've got an absorbent amount of stuff coming to the table.
Wealth of knowledge.
Hey, I mean, again, I've been doing it for 8 years. I don't know. I guess this is just my hobby mostly, because it doesn't pay enough to be a job, but I'm into it. And I just want my, all the candidates to be into it as well, and not do it for other ego reasons. So I get to learn all about some of these folks that just I haven't seen at these forums. Tomorrow will be one at Poncha Town Hall. They call it Candid Dating. So we go to round tables and that people are at, and I call it like little vignettes of like Thanksgiving dinners. There's like the pissed off uncle, there's like the concerned mom, like they're all at every table, and it's good. It's like just see how personable our candidates are too.
Cool. So you did mention work.
Yeah.
So currently, how many jobs do you have?
Yeah, so I work at I do massage at the oncology and infusion department at the hospital. That's my morning gig.
Okay.
And then in the afternoon, I work on private clients out at CJ and Company, actually across the street. So on Highway 50. And I do like house calls too for folks that are either pretty immunocompromised or have mobility issues. And then I'm an empty nester right now for the first time in eight years. So my youngest went off to Fort Lewis. So and that's it's one of those things. It's like I'm an empty nester, and I'm like, what's that gonna be like? And it's like they still come back on weekends to do like laundry. They don't I pay for the phone, and they don't text for some reason.
Yep.
So I
And they're just
the fridge. I'm telling you. So I'm like I'm a my home security is I'm a baseball bat guy, so I'm like always like, who goes there? Like what? I've got like a baseball, like 3 baseball bats at the positioned. I'm like, what the heck? And it's like somebody in the fridge, and it's like it's my kid Jet, and he's just like got food coming out of his mouth. I'm like a text.
Yeah.
Text, man. I'm really jumpy, man. I mean, I've had a home invasion before, and I'm grabbing the bat. I've got the tube sock on it too, so I got 2 swings.
Yes. Yes. So you mentioned the invasion. You mentioned the 2015 or 10 years, literally 10 years since the incident.
Yeah.
Can you kind of walk us through that scenario, like in Salida?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, I'm from New York originally, so my dad was a baseball bat guy, so like that was like our home defense, because he grew up in tiny little apartments in New York where like a gun wasn't as practical because it would just go through walls and be like, is the family okay on the other side of the wall? So like he was had the Louisville Slugger. So I always he's always like a very cautious guy. So like I too was grew up with that. I had my uncle was a state trooper. I've got a family that military, so that are very, very like home protection positive, right? But I kind of let my guard down moving to like a small community like this, because it is just, you don't really see like the crime that does happen is not like super like in your face.
Yeah.
Like it is in New York, where you're like, oh yeah, that's what's going on. That's the house. That's like the house looks like it's committing crimes.
Yeah.
So you're like, there's like the neighborhood looks like it's like sketchy, So it's, I just didn't see that. So I'd been here for some years, and I had started dating. Who's now my wife, who had worked at the hostel night shifts and was working at Moonlight during the day. And we by then I kind of was like, I didn't really lock doors. I just got that kind of comfortable where it was just like, oh, this is like Mayberry. This is great. All the crime happens at the Vic over a pool game, so it's like we're totally safe. And so Mel wanted to. The previous owners were ready to sell, and Mel, my now wife, the girlfriend at the time, was like really gung ho about like, I want to do this. I want to serve the hiking community. She's really passionate about the hiking community. I mean, got Salida as a gateway community because we're right off of the Continental Divide Trail and the Colorado Trail. So, generally speaking, we get those kinds of visitors. They're just like, where do I buy shoes? Shout out to 7,000 feet, so we can like chuck those puppies in the garbage and along with the socks. Like it was that vibe that we experienced that first summer. working there in 2015 that it was like, all right, yeah, I mean, they may look homeless, but they've got like $1,000 backpacks, so they're actually, they're pretty good. And then the shoulder season hit. And I mean, I remember the day because it was my mom's 50th birthday, so it was on October 7th. Now we're like into the shoulder season. The hiking season's done. And we quickly started becoming this. I got to know the bartenders at the Vic really well because they would just like send like, hey, this guy can't, like, can he crash on one of your bunks? We're like the affordable space in downtown, at the time it was $20 for a bunk.
Yeah.
So I was pretty used to like getting the norm, like the stumbling from Cheers, like, and I'm like, all right, here, we'll help you out. But on this particular night, we hadn't like officially, we hit the ground running and we like worked so hard. We hadn't like officially had this like celebratory passing of the torch dinner. And so with the previous owners and me and Mel, we had like a staffer whose last day was that day working. And we went out and, I had a couple glasses of wine, but, it was nice. I was dressed up very nice. And we come back and one of the, this was also at the time where we were apprised to like the housing issue. We had like a cook that was like working at Shallott's at the time, or was it was either that or Laughing Ladies, one of the older restaurants.
Yeah.
Like staying at the hostel until he could find a place to live. And so Roger, big guy, was just like hanging out front on his bench and was like, hey, some guy came stumbling in and I told him that you guys were out. It was just kind of like after like normal check-in hours. It was probably around 10 or after 10. And I was just like, again, kind of thinking in my head, oh, this is like a stumbler from the Vic. No biggie. Like we'll settle up in the morning. And at the time we didn't lock the door either because sometimes people need to come in because the Vic at the time was open till like 2:30 and it was just like we'll just settle up later. So we go up into there's a suite where, the live-in crew would work, but that's where we were moving into. And we were moving out of like one of the bigger private rooms. And we're going into that private, I'm trying to find where this guy is, like I'm like, just so I can keep track. I'm like,
right.
Okay. And check all the spaces and I'm like, I don't see him. I don't see anybody new. And I check one of the private room that you can only lock from the inside, and it's locked. And I'm like, oh man, like, and that's when I like smelt it. Like we still had like our stuff. We were staying there for still and transitioning into the bigger space. And I had bought for the special occasion. I never do this. I bought cologne, which is like Acqua di Gio. It was like $80 bottle. I was really proud of it. And it reeked of this cologne. So I was like, son of a bitch. Like not only is this guy passed out in what's still our space, like there's still our stuff around.
Yeah.
But he broke my bottle of Acqua di Gio, man. Like that's some name brand stuff. And it was like, it's like it was hurting my eyes. So it was like a flimsy little channel lock, and the night or the last night that our staffer was working, Mac was just like, I got a really bad feeling about this, and I was just like, no, it's he wanted to call the cops, and Mel was like, yeah, maybe we should just call the cops, and I was just like, on that level of like, if I stumbled in, that means that I'm not really thinking like where I'm crashing and I just found a spot and I crashed or whatever. Like, yeah, that is exceptionally annoying that you were somehow able to finagle the channel lock and crash, but I wouldn't want to be woken up by the cops. We can just I was like, I'll just pop the door open and I'll go in and we'll just rile the guy up, and there's a bunk like right outside the door. And he'd be like, okay, here you go, buddy. You know, nighty night. We'll see you in the morning. Didn't want to bother the cops in that way anyway. So I did. I made an executive decision to not listen to the vibes that the other two were getting, and I popped open the door, and I look, and there's nobody in the bed, and I kind of like walk closer to it, like, do my eyes deceive me? Like, did he jump out the window? Like, and he jumped me from the closet space to my right. So now we're fighting. So
Yeah.
you know, I lost a lot of blood, so I don't remember much. It was pieced together by the people that were,
Yeah.
you know, part of my saving. But I do remember throwing such a good punch that I broke these 3 knuckles on the guy's face, and I remember he fell backwards, and I was just like, okay, thinking like, we're done. The fight's done. And he bounced back like from the ground like he hit a trampoline, and I was like, that's weird. And it coming at me now with like more force, so I'm blocking, and that's when I realized like my arms are bleeding. I got a pretty good one here that I kept.
Oh, wow.
But so I'm thinking, next thought I do have is like, you got to be kidding me. This is a zombie.
Yeah.
And now I'm this is patient 0. I thought I'd make it a little farther in the zombie apocalypse, but whatever. I'm about to go sprinting after my loved
Done.
ones.
Yep.
So I'm like thinking like he's biting me.
Yeah.
So I took him to the ground, swept him, applied a choke, and that's when I realized he had a knife, because he was starting to hit from behind,
Oh,
and I
Jesus.
got hit in my face a bunch. I thought I lost my eye. It bounced off my ocular bone and kind of took the skin off of this side of my face. But I remember with that hit being like, okay, he's got a weapon. Like, everybody back up. Like, by then it gets a little hazy from blood loss. But apparently when I had kind of yelled out that he's got a knife or he's got a weapon, this Edward, gentleman from Crestone, who has been known to walk around since town with like a little like a sheep on a leash. So he's like that kind of guy. Huh. If you know Crestone at all, that's a standard Crestonian.
Yeah.
Apparently came to the rescue and kind of jumped on top of us both and was just saying like, Jesus loves you, man. You're loved. You're one of God's creatures or whatever. And the guy went completely dormant, like just stopped and dropped everything and just kind of like got soothed into
Wow.
like a lullaby state. Super bizarre. I mean, apparently he was on so much meth that he didn't remember anything that he had done. And he even had a wire wrap pendant of a giant meth crystal that he was just wearing.
Whoa.
So it's like jewelry. And Mel's side of the story too was that she was stomping him in where it hurts in the downward V, which, if you know us would know, that's the worst possible way to get hit. There's no good way, but that's the worst way.
Wow. And
that she said he was growling at her when she was doing that, and Mel always wears her boots. So I was like, oof, that had to hurt. I remember him speaking for the first time in court, like hearing him talk, and his voice was he was definitely more soprano. You know? Yeah. So I was like, ooh, that had to be that.
Oh, gosh.
But yeah, I got picked up at that point by Mel and whisked downstairs where the cops had been called, and they showed up right at that time. And I got put into Roger's truck and got brought to the ER where I got to get a couple of transfusions and a whole bunch of stitches and staples, and I had gotten stabbed 14 times meaningfully stabbed. I mean, slashes outside of it. He had a 6-inch fixed blade, so not only was he wearing the meth crystal pendant, but he also had just, a Bowie knife. I don't know.
Just a little trinket on the side.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, it's, I mean, and while he's wearing like baggy, like Janko jeans, he's obviously, I don't know what he's doing with that, but I guess he had, he skipped out on court that day and was living at the D Street apartments across the street, and was looking like they had found like a whole bunch of like guest car keys on him and IDs.
Okay.
And all of my cologne, he just poured it on him. So I'm like, oof. I do remember that smell. Now if I do smell that anywhere, I'm like, get that shit away from me.
Gosh.
I want nothing to do with that smell. But that was also just, the next 3 months too, it was getting tested a lot, because I don't know if you guys know, but if you get bloody with a meth head, you got to get tested for bloodborne illnesses. So that was rough. But I almost lost my thumb. I almost lost my ring and pinky finger on this hand. So and I've gotten some meaningful hits on this arm. So I needed a lot. Like I called up my dad, who had just retired, and he came out to help. I needed assistance with like showering and all that for a really long time, and I got about $20,000 worth of plastic surgery on my face. But all to say, what happened was the community really rallied. The people that I still call very good friends, were the business owners like Juan and Gabby at Las Camelinas were a part of my meal train, and the Gartzmans at Sweeties, and they showed up for me, and I really thought I was gonna have to like go back with family out east. When you're that messed up, it's like, all right, game over for a minute. I need to like recoup, and I can't tell my my friends to help me in that way. But this community showed up. They had a GoFundMe for my medical bills, which was huge because I had just turned 26, so I was off of insurance.
Oh, man.
So I was looking forward to some pretty heavy bills. Salida covered it. They covered me. So
that's the character that you want.
To that's
continue to blossom.
I owe them one, for sure. And I think a lot. I think a lot about like what I would have done differently. I've got a lot of the kinds of friends that are like, you should have done this, or like, oh, if I was there, I would have done that.
Yeah.
They mean well, but it's also like, man,
Monday morning
getting
quarterback
hurts. Also, like, my hand was thrashed, man. Like, I mean, it's kind of like one of those like playing like that ninja game where it's like, oh, you hit my hand, I got to put it behind you. So like, I think about a lot about what I would have done differently, and I know right after that we got the Ring camera, the motion sensor, especially with all the stuff going on at the D Street apartments. I mean, we were able to get footage of like a guy that had approached, I guess there was at the one off of First Street, like one guy like in like a Matrix jacket, and another guy with a full-on like samurai sword. They busted down the door. That door stayed busted open too. They never replaced it. But to do something, I don't know, but we were able to submit that to the cops as evidence.
Holy cow.
I'm like, samurai, so what in the Quentin Tarantino's going on over there?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But what was really cool is that randomly, years later, my parents were visiting, and that was the day that they demoed those apartments.
Yeah.
And it was just like, let's check it out, but also, maybe back it up because there was a lot of meth going on in there. So, we probably bring that in.
Meth,
you
name it.
But we got really we upgraded our locks.
Mm-hmm.
We we got those cameras. That's something that I ultimately got too comfortable. And really, I mean, it's just like just because we don't see it blatant, there's still crime here. We're not, we're not immune to meth being like a huge thing, and heroin, and we had like a huge busts like a couple months ago, that the DEA was involved in. So it's like, I think it's easy in small communities to put on like rose-colored glasses.
Yeah.
And that definitely opened my eyes. I started going to church a lot more because, again, like, I got to tell you guys, if you're getting stomped in the nuts and your response is to growl, I think we were dealing with an exorcism situation there, man. Like, I don't know. I still think about that a lot. I don't know how to square that. Especially, so I started going to church a lot more. But I also upgraded my, I was a mentor through the county, and then ended up graduating to being a foster parent. So that led me down that road it's one of the best things I've ever done with my life, because David Van Tassel, my attacker, was a local, and when he had heard that we were pursuing fostering, he had said in the courts that he wished he had something like that, and maybe things would have been different for him.
It's huge.
Wow.
It's huge. It's huge to hear that. And as a foster parent, I don't get to keep guns in the house or get to can or or have a trampoline, like weird rules because somebody must have died or did something stupid, and I have to lock up all my chemicals and medications and alcohol and run my house like a business. But I get to have a baseball bat with a tube sock on it, so that's I got that going.
And you get the reward of
that too. I get to
seeing them come home and raid your refrigerator.
Yeah. Oh my God, man, groceries through the roof. I'm like, lay off the eggs. You need like 5 eggs in one sitting.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I know that's one of the things that I remember from first meeting you, like what you had gone through was something that just I couldn't fathom. Something like that, and kind of made me take a step back and like how our home situation was, because again, I'm coming from a small town myself, moving to a small town. It's like I don't really need to lock my doors, do I? I mean, so
I just didn't. It just wasn't in my mind at all.
Yeah.
And now now we just change our habits, and I'm a lot more alert. But and try not to be overly alert. Just because somebody's standing behind me in the grocery store doesn't mean I have to size them up.
Right.
But that post-traumatic stress for sure. I deal with that. Those will be the scars I have for the rest of my life.
Yep.
But and I'll age kind of weird, having only one side being plastic surgery. But maybe Dr. Payton can round it out. The other side.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
awesome.
I mean, I've done a lot of healing from it, and hit my 10-year anniversary of it, and it feels good to be able to talk about it.
Cool.
Because there was definitely a time where I just couldn't. So it feels good to be.
Not only did you go through that, then have to relive it in court, and
Yeah, court is not quick either, man. That was like a year of time, and no matter what somebody does. They'll always have fans. So I even had like their buddies just being like, you need to let this go. And I'm like, I'm not, it's like pressing charges. It's just like the people.
Yeah.
Wow. Somebody in the parking lot, one of his friends, like girlfriends, was just like, I don't see what the big deal is. It's just a flesh wound. And I was like, damn it. That's a line from Monty Python. So I was just like, what are you going to do, bleed on me?
Yeah.
That's my only response. But I'm like, I've had to just lean into humor because people are going to say stupid things. And I think that's helped me in my career with, or tenure with council too, is that people are just going to say things off the cuff that they're passionate about. And maybe they don't know exactly how that, affects you or how well thought out it is, but it's okay. People are gonna people, and it's given me a lot of patience also because I'm raising, teenagers, so that gives you a lot of patience too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, awesome.
Yeah.
That is a really impressive story.
Yeah.
Like the full circle of it, though.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's very, very commendable.
Yeah.
Like, huge.
I felt like I had to do something, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
And so, again, whatever the outcome of this election too, I'm still going to be very involved in my community. That just doesn't go away. So.
I mean, you literally could have just been like, pop smoke, see ya.
Yeah, and left.
It definitely it crossed my mind.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
And I did revisit cigarette smoking after that for a
Really?
while too. Yeah, that old vice.
Mm-hmm.
Nicotine is probably the most addictive substance out there. I could go 50 years without a smoke and still be like, today was a bad day. You know what I could use?
Yeah. Nice.
But
Awesome.
yeah, I love this community. It showed up for me in a huge way, and I'll always show up for it.
That's awesome.
One way or another. So
It's like Hotel California.
that's right. That's right.
And just remember, if you like this type of content, please like, share, subscribe, put a comment down below. Thank you.